This is not a review of Red Dead Redemption 2. If you've come here hoping for some concise information that will let you make an informed choice as to whether or not you should buy Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm afraid you've come to the wrong place. This is basically going to be a middle-aged man telling you his experiences and discussing fond memories from playing said game, and it's going to be anything but concise. However, if for some strange reason you are curious as to whether or not I would recommend that you buy this game in 2022, I would have to say it very much depends on what sort of games you like. Steam will tell you that Red Dead Redemption 2 is an open-world, story-rich adventure western that tells the epic tale of outlaw Arthur Morgan and the infamous Van der Linde gang, on the run across America at the dawn of the modern age. What it doesn't tell you is you will find yourself exploring an amazing open world, experiencing a wild variety of adventures, hunting, fishing, playing card games, stabbing yourself in the hand, because that's an actual thing, stabbing yourself in the hand in a macho display of superiority. You will have meals, you will see shows, you will go and have your hair cut, you will ride trains, you will rob trains, you will even drive trains and stand on the roof of trains shooting birds. And you will sit around a campfire having conversations with an amazing cast of characters that you will come to love and sometimes hate. And through it all, you will be experiencing one of the best main quests I've ever experienced. The game does have flaws, it does have design choices that had me scratching my head, but taken as a whole, this game is an amazing, polished, incredible adventure, and I can highly recommend it. At full price, it's still a steal. If you like this sort of game, if you're looking for an open world adventure, a story-rich experience that has a ton of things to do, it's money well spent. This game isn't just one of the best games I've ever played, it's one of those gaming experiences that is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. It is absolutely incredible. Anyway, I hope that helped, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you enjoy the game. If you stay beyond this point, it's just going to be old man talking about the good old days of when he was playing this game. One of the strangest aspects of my Red Dead Redemption 2 experience is how the game came to my attention in the first place, because people started to recommend the game to me during my Kingdom Come Deliverance Let's Play. And this is surprising because of course they are very different games, or at least they are on paper. Kingdom Come Deliverance is listed on Steam as a realistic open world medieval RPG and an action game. The only tag it shares with Red Dead Redemption 2 is open world. Now, it might be tempting to think, right, but Red Dead Redemption 2 came out the same year as Kingdom Come Deliverance, so it was probably just a coincidence, and in fact, the PC release occurred during my Let's Play. But there's more to it than that, I believe. You see, whilst they are very different games, there are some things about both games that feel very similar. They have some things in common, and more importantly, the things they have in common are somewhat unusual in games today. For example, both games are not afraid to slow things down, to encourage the player to just take their time. Both games are not afraid to focus on little details that might not seem important to the overall story. They're not sort of epic action-adventure moments, but they really do make you feel connected to the character and to the world. A prime example of this is both games actually have you getting dirty and needing to clean. And it's not just that your clothes will start showing the signs of dirt and blood. The NPCs will react to how clean or how dirty you are. Little things like that just make the world feel that much more real. So yeah, in the end, I get it. I understand why people were watching me play the son of a medieval blacksmith who then turns into a knight and said, hey, you would really enjoy playing a bandit in a western. My first memory of being genuinely impressed with Red Dead Redemption 2 was a moment that almost knocked me out of the game in a way, because it was in Chapter 1 very early on and I was wading through the snow and all I could think was, oh my god, we need snow like this in Skyrim. I was just so impressed with the snow, I temporarily forgot all of the mission details and what I was there to do. It was amazing. And I have to say, throughout the entire game, the environment, the weather, it stopped impressing me, I guess. It just became part of the background. But when I think back on it, it's because it was so good. It made me feel like I was there. I stopped noticing the weather and just started reacting to the weather. If it was raining, it actually made me want to sort of huddle up a little bit and set camp and hide from the rain. And when wading through the snow, it was just amazing. Trying to walk up and down snowy slopes and slipping and sliding really did make the experience a lot more intense as well. A lot of games will just have you sort of running around, Skyrimming around, jumping over slippy rocks without a care in the world. This game made me look at icy surfaces, snowy paths, and consider them. I knew the snow was going to slow me down. I knew the ice would be slippy. Little details like that, it initially really grabbed my attention, and so I was immediately very impressed. But it wasn't just the weather, the environment that made the world come alive. It was also the creatures that populated the world. Now, I'm not talking about people, the NPCs, I'm talking about the beasts, the predators, the prey, the fish, the birds, all of these living creatures that really had their own lives. They weren't just placed there for the player's benefit, like there was a wolf there and its only role was to attack the player. Or there was a bunny there and its only role was to be hunted by the player. It actually felt like these creatures were getting on with their day-to-day business of surviving. And you could stand quite far away looking through your binoculars and watch the circle of life in progress. You could watch a hawk swoop down and pick up a snake and carry it off to feed children, perhaps, I don't know, to eat. You could watch a boar grazing and then running when they were spooked by something. It just really felt like that the land was alive, and I really enjoyed just exploring it, wandering around hunting and fishing. And I know it kind of annoyed some people. They felt like I spent way too much time hunting and fishing in my Let's Play, but I can tell you on my second playthrough, I did even more of that. I just really loved wandering off into this beautifully crafted world and being, just literally existing, hunting, fishing, camping, and taking in the sights. It really was an incredible place. But this feeling of being part of a living, breathing world is not just isolated to the wilds. It's also true in civilization, in the towns, in the cities. It's true on farmsteads and in ranches, and you can be wandering around meeting people, and it always feels like there is a story going on with them. They have their own story, and sometimes you're part of that. Sometimes you'll have a fun, interesting, funny, or disturbing adventure with those people. But other times, the story will go on without you, and you can observe it. Perhaps there's a conversation going on and you listen to it, or you're in Saint-Denis and someone throws a bucket or something on someone else's head, and all these little things are going on in the background that make the game feel like it's a real place, like this is actual reality. And it's, I mean, I hate to use the word immersive. I do. I can't stand using that word, as you guys know, but it really does pull you in. And this is, it even goes to the crowds that are wandering around the streets. Sometimes in games, you feel like the crowds are very artificial. They just don't feel like people moving around their business. In Red Dead Redemption 2, I never once was wandering around Saint-Denis and noticing people just placed there, you know, like for scenery. They didn't feel like scenery. They felt like people living in a city. So, you know, the game just does a phenomenal job of building and populating this open world for you to explore to your heart's content. Now, I mentioned the stories that are going on and that you can interact with, the quests, and they are phenomenal in this game. They really are. They range from small to large, and they range from being sad, emotional, or even disturbing quests, all the way to hilariously entertaining and sometimes even tongue-in-cheek silly, but never tongue-in-cheek enough that it breaks the bubble, if you know what I mean. You can sort of acknowledge that what you're looking at is totally weird and totally crazy, but for the most part, you stay grounded. I'm thinking of quests, I don't want to give spoilers, but for example, involving a couple of brothers. A quest that just had me chuckling the entire time. Kind of silly, and yet just on the border of believable. Now, some of the quests definitely stray into the science fiction realm. They're not totally in your face, and they're done in a way that sort of fits the environment, but there are 3 or 4 encounters or quests where either it's obviously science fiction or it hints at it being science fiction. People who've played the game will know what I'm talking about, but it doesn't pop the bubble, I can tell you that. I still felt like I was living at the end of the 19th century as an outlaw. Now, one of the reasons the stories worked so well in this game is that the characters were really well done. The various characters you interact with, the main character himself, Arthur Morgan, they're really well done characters. They've got great dialogue. They've all got different personalities. I'm talking about the gang members now, and it's very easy to form emotional bonds with them, sometimes loving them, sometimes hating them, and sometimes having a real sort of mix of feelings towards them, because people are complicated. And as I said, the dialogue, the voice acting was brilliant, but so was the motion capture. The cutscenes, or the parts where you're doing dialogue and it all goes third person, it's really well done. I mean, the motion capture is really well done throughout the entire game, to be honest. A lot of the conversations will be happening whilst you're walking with people or riding on horseback with them. And, you know, the expressions of people, the arm movements, everything's really well done. And it does help give you a feeling of those characters. You could recognize gang members by the way they walked or sat. You got a feeling that these were real people. And this extended to the NPCs that you would deal with as well. There are plenty of people you meet out there that were not part of the gang who, again, you can sort of really end up falling in love with. You just think, wow, such a brilliant character. I loved doing that particular quest, and it just, the characters were superbly done. And speaking of characters, there's the horses. And yes, in this game, they are characters. I'm not saying they chat to you, they don't have dialogue, but they're very expressive, they have their own personalities, and you bond with them, both via a game mechanic, but honestly, emotionally as well. At least I did. I will always remember Biscuit. Yes, I will. And I will raise a glass to my horse. Fond memories. And yes, I know that sounds weird and creepy, but if you've watched my Let's Play, or if you've played the game yourself, you probably understand. This game did horses really well. That could probably be taken the wrong way. They presented horses in a way that was quite believable. The animations were amazing. I'm not talking about the balls, by the way, before anyone brings that subject up. I didn't really care too much about that. But, you know, grooming the horse, feeding the horse, making sure the horse was okay before I went to sleep at night, just became an integral part of my routine that genuinely I miss not doing now that I've finished the game. So, yeah, really well done on the horses. It sounds daft. If you've not played the game, it sounds probably insane. But major kudos for how they handled horses in a game where, let's face it, horses are going to be important. And I think I'm going to leave it there for this video. It's not that I don't have more to say, it's just I feel like if I keep talking, I'm going to head into spoiler territory. I've got plenty of things I'd like to discuss about different quests, different characters, and I'd like to go into some more detail, but I want to keep this video kind of spoiler free. I do also have some negative things to say about the game. Not many, really. I mean, there are a few. There are some issues, some niggly little complaints I've got, and some complaints that go beyond just being slightly annoying and occasionally kind of enraging. But I don't want to bring that up here because those sort of conversations do require details. They do require details, probably spoilers, but more importantly, I feel like when you complain about something, you should give a good accounting for what your problem is and how you feel it should have been handled. And the video will end up being 3 times as long and 2/3 of it will be negative. And I don't want that to be the case on this video because in spite of the flaws the game has, in spite of the fact that I might make some videos where I borderline sound like I'm raging in the future, I thoroughly loved this game. None of those problems, none of the issues I had stopped me from enjoying this game. None of them would stop me from recommending this game because taken in its entirety, this is an absolutely superb game. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm going to give a big shout out, a big thank you to everyone who suggested that I should play this. You were absolutely right. This was such a me game. This was a game that I could really sink into, and I'm probably never going to forget this. This game is going up there with games like Kingdom Come Deliverance, games like Witcher 3, games that really made an impression on me that is going to last. You know, games that I am going to fondly think of in the future and will always have an emotional response. So, thank you for joining me on this ramble about, you know, basically what it was I loved about this game. Feel free to join me on future videos because I've now decided I am going to make them. I am going to make some videos where I complain and rage, and I will probably once again remind you how much I actually love the game in spite of it. But I do want to talk about some of the moments that are going to involve spoilers with people who've joined me for the Let's Play or have played themselves, so that we can laugh and, you know, maybe cry at those moments. So, I'm sure some of you have already imagined several of them, and some of them are making you feel sad and some of them are making you feel happy. I know that's happening to me. So I'm going to get out of here before I get all emotional on you. So, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time.